Ladies and gentlemen, good morning, and thanks for those who are on the call with us. We're just waiting a few more minutes to give some people an opportunity to come through the platform, and we'll be starting our session real soon. But thanks for being with us here this morning. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We're just waiting a few more minutes. Thanks for being on the line with us here, but we're just waiting a little bit to give everyone a chance to log into the platform, and we'll be starting real soon. So thanks for being with us. Well, we might get started. We've got quite a lot of information to share with you today, so I want to make sure that we've got time to get through everything that we've got planned. So first of all, can I welcome everyone to our session this morning with the City of Melbourne and the Department of Transport. I'm Felicia Mariani, the Chief Executive of the Victoria Tourism Industry Council, and it's my pleasure to welcome you all today to another in our Insight series of sessions that we're doing to share some really important and interesting information with our members and our broader industry. Can I begin, first of all, by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which we are meeting today. I'm coming to you from the land of the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation, and I pay my respects to their elders past and present. I also extend those respects to all of the various people from the lands on which you are all coming to us today. And again, those respects are paid to elders past and present. Now, before we start the panel session, I'd like to do just a bit of housekeeping. First of all, as you would be aware, which we do all the time, your microphone has been muted and your camera is turned off. I will ask today, if you've got any questions, please load those questions into the Q&A field. Don't put them into the chat box. I can only monitor sort of one platform at a time as we're going through the session. So please put all your questions into the Q&A. I do want to note, of course, that the session is being recorded today. And also, if, we will be sending this out, this recording will come out to you a little bit later, and I'll go through that at the end of the session as well. With regard to the Q&A, just so you know, as we're going through each of the two sessions today, I'll be monitoring that Q&A box, and I'll be asking questions as we go through the session. So load your questions up as they come to mind, rather than waiting until the end, because you might risk we don't get a chance to answer that question. So I also want to take just a quick moment as well to thank our partners. And you can see all the logos up there on the screen before you. But really, without the generosity and support of our partners, we would never be able to do all the things that we do and all the types of events and sessions that we bring to our members and to the broader industry. So a huge thank you to all of our generous partners and sponsors who support the work that VTIC does all throughout the year. So with that, I think we might get started with our presentations. And first of all, today, I want to welcome our panelists from the City of Melbourne. Firstly, Louise Scott. Louise is the Director of Experience Melbourne, leading a team of 100 people involved in all aspects of the tourism and business, including the delivery of a range of events and activations, permitting and sponsoring third-party events, providing visitor services and delivering a brand strategy and associated marketing campaigns to encourage city visitation. And Gabrielle Oldacre is Senior Manager. Gab heads the Destination Marketing, Brand and What's On Melbourne digital portfolio across strategic development of a year-round destination marketing approach that supports the city economy and activation divisions with the objective of driving economic prosperity by working in partnership with city businesses and key attractions to promote a broad spectrum of destination activities across Melbourne that includes arts and culture, hospitality, retail, and essential experiences. Working across media, film, TV, and now destination marketing, Gab has over 20 years of integrated marketing experience. And then when City of Melbourne is finished, I will also be introducing to you, of course, the marketing manager for the Department of Transport, Amy McBride, who will share information on their Let's Go campaign. So we might turn over to you, Louise and Gabrielle, first. And thanks very much again for everyone being here. And I'll come back again once our presentations are over. So over to you guys, Louise.
Thank you, Felicia, and good morning, everyone. Thanks for giving up your time to hear from us. We're excited to be able to share some of our work with you and look at ways that we can work with you moving forward. I did want to touch on just a couple of real great highlights from our data coming through for the month of October. And we've now seen our office attendance reach 57%, which is the highest it's been since the pandemic began. And we've also seen really significant increases in visitation to the CBD, particularly around the commencement of the Christmas activity and around the important time of shopping at the end of November, with Burke Street Mall seeing more than 26% increase in traffic over the last month. We've also seen visitation to Melbourne and Victoria reach really high levels compared to October last year. It's up over 200%, and spend is actually at a higher level than it was in 2019, and also pleasing to see our hotel occupancy reaching into the 70s for the first time in quite some time. We've also seen pedestrian activity in the CBD really grow strongly, and we're continuing to do all we can to market Melbourne as a visitor destination over this Christmas and then into the summer period. So Gab's going to take you through some of the work that we've been doing and share with you what we will be doing into the new year and how you can get engaged. So over to you, Gab.
Thank you, Louise. I'm just making my presentation visible on the screen. Hopefully everyone can see that nice bright slide. Great, I'm getting a nod there, Louise. Thank you very much.
Yep, all good.
So I'm going to run through this fairly fast. We're a little short on time, but we will be sending out a toolkit for everybody to have a read of. And if you have any questions, obviously pop them in the Q&A and also follow up with anything that might be outstanding. I'm happy to answer any questions at any time. I think it's really important to start with noting that a lot of the data that we researched in pulling together this campaign indicated that city visitors are extremely important to our economy. They contributed $6.74 billion to the local economy last year, creating 86,000 jobs. At the City of Melbourne, we've run a campaign called FOMO for the last 2 years, fear of missing out. Make sure you get in and don't miss out. That attracted 350,000 visitors, spending up to $16 million a month. So as you can see, experience-based marketing campaigns really work. The next iteration for the city is entitled Only in the City. It is what it says on the box. It tells people what it is that is unique and distinctive about their experience and why they should come and spend their time in the city. We went out and did a lot of research. We actually track perceptions and sentiment, barriers, drivers on a monthly basis through a tracker. and we get a lot of data that helps to inform the way that we shape our campaigns. You'll see on this slide quite a lot of the statements that have started to feed through. What this boils down to is an understanding of the things that are driving people to choose local over the city, or what it is we need to do to get people to come to the city. We built this campaign around that. We also delve deeper into understanding what's our key insight, and that is what makes Melbourne unique is the sum of its parts. Only in the city, as I mentioned before, essentially is a celebration of all things. Oh, sorry, hang on, I've gone forward a slide. A celebration of all things that make Melbourne, Melbourne. With Only in the City, we aim to unlock all of the different touch points that help us speak to the people that come to the city and remind them of all of those things. We launched our campaign on October 17. We went out with a big bang. It was a fantastic launch, got lots of positive feedback, and we are looking to roll this out over a few years. It's a long play. It's about positioning Melbourne and building that equity around what Only in the City means. We built the campaign around the pillars, arts and culture, hospitality, retail, and essential experiences. They make up the vast majority of all of the experiences that can be that can be had in one close space. That is staying over and experiencing them in the accommodation. That is the, I guess, all of the tourist attractions that we have on offer. They are all of, obviously, the theatre shows, the hospitality, the bars, all of the things. It is about coming to Melbourne and experiencing the experience of Melbourne. We target, in essence, an urban sophisticate, a social lifestyle, and a comfort zoner. They are our core target audiences, but they are not the only audiences. We're really going out after an 18 to 54 all of Victorian audience, so it's a wide-reaching campaign. The campaign here, in terms of the essence of the creative proposition, it's spelt out there. I won't go into a lot of detail due to time, but essentially it's reiterating what I just spoke around. Only in the city can you have all of these experiences in one closed space. That's the value proposition. Come to the city because it is so unique and different to what you will get locally. Our launch activity, as you can see, high awareness. You name the channel, we were there. We also, there's obviously the creative out and market, what it looks like and what it will continue to evolve through a different colour palette each season. Radio, digital. And we had a huge activation that we launched with called Super Melbourne. This essentially was an underground experience in Howie Place. What better way to showcase what Melbourne is all about, but by creating an essential experience that communicates all of the essential experiences that can be had in Melbourne. We got a whole range of really well-known collaborators together that are iconic to what makes Melbourne, Melbourne. We had over 10,000 people attend the event. It was a huge success, 354,000 in traditional PR. We had essentially 4.15 million people reached by organic social activity. It was a really great way to launch it. So what's next? What's on? Obviously supported launch, but it is going to be key to continuing what is going to be the future of the ways to get involved. Obviously, big campaign coming out for summer. We'll continue to roll that out. But I guess in terms of what this means for you and specifically how you can get involved, through What's On, we have the opportunity for you to list essentially any, I guess, events that have a hospitality offering, anything in your bars or restaurants, cafes, any events that are open to the city public that are coming in. For example, we did something recently with the W Hotel on pool sessions. We're doing things for New Year's Eve, Mother's Day, Christmas, any of those types of times that you've got an event that you think would be unique, distinctive, interesting, only in the city. We'd love to profile it on What's On. As part of this launch through until March, we're giving 10 businesses a month an extra opportunity to be profiled through What's On. So make sure you email the marketing inbox and give us a heads up on the things that you are doing. We profile through things like the best new hotels in Melbourne, the best dog-friendly staycations, unique hotels for your Melbourne staycation, for example. We have a lot of information around walking tours, kids in Melbourne, what to do with them in terms of tourism opportunities. There are lots of different ways that we are going out there and really embracing the different elements that make up the visitor economy for Melbourne. So make sure you get your hands on that industry toolkit, and I look forward to answering any questions anyone might have on the campaign.
Thanks, Gabrielle. We do have a question that's popped up in here. Only in the city will be a great hashtag. Will your team repost operators' posts on social?
Yes. So if you tag at What's on Melbourne, we will. Yes.
So, sorry, you said What's on Melbourne because she's talking about only in the city. So what's the hashtag that people should use?
Yes. So, yep. We tend to focus more on tagging back to at What's on Melbourne because we have more opportunity to gain traction out of reposting. The hashtag we are using is only in the city, but we're less inclined to push the hashtag as we are reposting through tagging our channels. So that would probably be the best way to go about doing it.
So probably to be on the safe side, it would be good if people posted both, whenever you do a post, hashtag only in the city, hashtag What's on Melbourne. And then that way they get to cover off everything and you won't miss out for sure.
That's it. Yeah, so if they can tag at What's on Melbourne, that would be the best way to do it.
Okay, great. Question is, what is the City of Melbourne's reach, interstate or intrastate?
Do you mean in terms of our reach, in terms of our media reach or our What's on reach?
I think that's what they're talking about. Yes, yes.
Oh, so What's on specifically, we have an ecosystem of over 1.1 million through Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and the website. In terms of our actual media campaign, from now until the end of December, we're going to be reaching 94% of all Victorians. Big campaign.
So it is primarily an intrastate, and I will probably.
Oh yes, sorry, you mean geographically.
What I will mention here, predominantly interstate is the domain of Visit Victoria. The City of Melbourne does not necessarily. I mean, this could be through the social media channels that they use that it would reach an interstate market, but the primary purpose of the work that they do with the City of Melbourne is activating with people within Greater Melbourne, people within Victoria. Visit Victoria has the primary carriage for interstate. So I think that's probably an important point to make.
We tend to focus on 30 kilometres from the CBD as the heart of the city because we are competing locally with the likes of Chadstone, Brunswick Street, really local. And we work very closely with Visit Victoria to make sure that we're kind of, I guess, filling all of the areas of visitation.
Yeah, great. Gabrielle, there's a question here about will you include experiences that are outside of the local government area for City of Melbourne if people send that to you from more the Greater Melbourne region?
We only cover the municipality on What's on and the City of Melbourne. As you were mentioning, that's Visit Victoria's domain. So anything that, so they do obviously market those attractions to a certain point, and then we take over to make sure it's a very laser focused catchment area.
Okay, great. What are the tips to ensure that content that's tagged at What's on Melbourne gets republished on your channel?
Absolutely.
Are there some tips to improve the content?
Yes, so we love to do things obviously that are destination worthy, things that make people excited to feel like that's something I really need to see. We like things to be obviously visually appealing, so anything that's kind of striking to the eye. We get a much higher engagement out of things that show a great view or people having a great time in the context of the experience. We like anything with lights and color and movement from a social perspective. Absolutely, we tend to get a lot of traction that way. But again, we're very happy to help with any of those questions post this session. If there's anything specific that they need help with, if they're thinking about doing something for What's On, we're definitely happy to talk through that.
So with the best thing to do then, and I'm conscious we probably need to move on to our next presentation, but just a last question around instructions on what to do as an operator. First of all, the asset kit will be coming out to you later this afternoon. That will include all the instructions on how to get involved and how to leverage what both the City of Melbourne and Department of Transport will be doing today. But I'm assuming, Gab, if there are any questions or people need help, they can email to that marketing at address that you have.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Just do that one more time, just so people might have missed it in your presentation.
Sure. I'll just bring up the presentation. 1 second.
Oh, no, I just mean if you could just give them the email address.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Gabrielle. You don't need to go back to that page.
It's marketing@melbourne.vic.gov.au.
So marketing@melbourne.vic.gov.au.
Yes, and we're monitoring the inbox daily, several times a day. So, and there's a team of people that we can certainly help to make sure it's as social media worthy as possible.
Great. Gabrielle, thank you so much. Thank you. I really, really appreciate your time in going through that presentation today. And it really does give everyone a chance to understand the depth and breadth of what the City of Melbourne is doing, but hopefully too how they can potentially get involved and really leverage the good work that you guys are doing. So we might move next to our presentation from the Department of Transport. And we have with us today Amy McBride. Amy is the marketing manager heading up the network optimization stream, which focuses on patronage and delivering the network recovery strategy in a post-COVID world. Amy has worked within the Victorian Government public transport sector for over 14 years and specialises in behaviour change communications, having worked on previous advertising campaigns for Nike, all-night weekend travel, and major projects such as level crossing removals, Metro Tunnel, and the Westgate Tunnel project, all as part of Victoria's Big Build. And big projects that you have worked on, Amy. Welcome and thank you for being with us today.
Hello, thank you, Felicia. Now I'm assuming everyone can see my screen. Yep, perfect. Great to be here and hello to everyone. So before I get into the nitty-gritty of how you guys can get involved for summer, I thought I'd just take you back and give you a bit of an idea of the story so far when it comes to the network recovery campaign that we've been doing launched since March. So I'll take you back. Obviously, we don't want to think about it too much. I don't want to give anyone PTSD, but the lockdowns, the 2 years we had, the curfews we had, the closed playgrounds, the no toilet paper on the shelves, the craziness that was the lockdowns in Melbourne. Just to give you an indication, we were at 13% patronage during this time. So we realised once things were starting to lift, we had a real challenge on our hands to get people back to public transport. Hence, we launched our Let's Go platform, which was our advertising campaign and creative. We launched this in March. It was titled People of PT, and we heroed our operators. The operators had been working throughout the lockdown. They were missing their passengers. And as you can see from here, which will probably be familiar to many of you, this was the artwork that we went out with. We launched with masks on, obviously, back then, but we were lucky enough to rerun it again towards, I think it was around September, when the mask off was allowed, and we could really add a bit more of that emotion and those smiling faces to the message. Our objective for that campaign was to be around 70%. So thinking about when this was, it was a very challenging time. It was pre the winter months. So we had lots of flu cases rising, COVID cases rising. We got to 72% in April before winter set in, but we also had the mask mandate and a lot of policy changes, a lot of policy decisions that were impacting this campaign, as well as the encouragement to stay working from home. So it just goes to show how volatile that time was. We also did some, obviously with getting people back on PT, we need to educate people about and remind them how to use the transport system and Mikey. So we did a pink Let's Go instant top-up and auto top-up campaign. We got 2 new records, which was great, nearly 65,000 top-ups completed during this time. It was only in market for about a month. And we had instant top-ups, which accounted for 77% of Myki top-ups on our app. So that was another new record. We will be running this campaign again come February when people are starting to come back to public transport after the holidays. In June, we ran some activations, one at Burke Street Mall, State Library and MCG, and this was a feel-good, positive exercise. We wanted people to write on post-it notes what they enjoy about public transport, and a lot of the themes, it was really a great positive experience. A lot of the themes that came out were, the social part of it with getting people to and from the city and being able to have a few drinks, saving money on car parking, petrol, and the green message or sustainability and the environment. We then launched a Let's Go a Different Way. So this was in response to earlier research. And it was all about, okay, we've got you back on PT, but now you've got to tell us a bit more about the benefits of it. So it was very much directed towards our car drivers. And we talked about the savings on petrol, the savings of time with car parking, the steps achieved to walk to your bus stop or your train station, and quicker commutes. Which then leads us up to our Let's Go Summer campaign, which we have just launched this week and will run till the end of February. We've got digital, outdoor, regional press and multicultural channels. We're doing a Time Out partnership, which is their 100 Days of Summer promotion. So every day there'll be an event or somewhere to go, and we'll be informing people of how to catch PT to that. We've got a lot of content that we're sharing on our social channels. We're obviously doing extra services to some of the big events, which we will continue to promote every year. Our call to action is all about our journey planner. So it's coming to our campaign landing page and figuring out the best way to use PT to those events. And we will have a stakeholder pack, which will have all of the assets and all of the creative that you guys can absolutely use. And of course, if there's any specs or you want us to customize anything for your particular business or what have you, then we're definitely open to that as well. So just an idea of what this will look like. We've done a creative for each mode. This is obviously bus. We've launched with this one to grab the shoppers for the Christmas shopping craziness. Got it all done in an hour. Let's go. And that's our bus creative. Our V-Line one is all about coming into the city on V-Line for a theatre or a dinner experience. No one does dinner in a show like Melbourne. Our train is festival, nightlife, music, gig. Nothing beats a live gig, talking to Metro Train and to that kind of 20 cohort. We've got a tram, a sporting family. We can use this for our cricket or tennis or any other festivals or family things that come over for tram. Nothing beats the roar of the crowd. And then a return to work one, which we're really focusing on the human connection of getting back with your teammates, your colleagues and your team. So, this beats Zoom every time using PT to go back to work. In addition to this, we've got our Let's Go Summer of Surprises. So we've got graffiti appointed to conduct some activations across Melbourne. This is all about entertaining people while they're on PT. So a bit of a surprise and delight. We're going to get some performers to jump on the network and really enhance that travel experience for people so that, people can see this, grab content, take photos, get footage of whatever the surprise and delight is and share it across social channels. So really trying to change that perception about PT and getting people to think of public transport as the number-1 option and travel mode when they're coming into the city in the warmer months for leisure, and also when they're coming in to experience what Melbourne has to offer. Some examples of, we're going to have some Elton lookalikes around the Elton John concert. Trainline Treasures is all about the Melbourne Zoo and maybe having some live animals on some trams going there, and comedian conductors, and also some Harry Potter themed activities. And then this will continue after summer into more of a targeted Myki education focus. And then on top of that, again, we're going to PR as much of this as we can and proactively push out public transport messages, as well as we're looking to use some influential advocates. So they're going to be picked based on their genuine love of PT, they're Melbourne people, depending on their demographics and whatnot, and we'll talk to them through their own PT experiences. So we haven't done anything like that before. It's something new for us. It'll be interesting to see how it resonates and how it's received. But we've also got a lot of our key messaging that people have forgotten about. So obviously how to use Mikey, our night network happening for Friday and Saturday nights, our fare discounts, our weekend cap, things like that we need to push out a lot more, considering people haven't used this for a while. And then, of course, our special events. So this is what we do every year. We've got cricket, we'll have tennis, obviously the free travel on Christmas Day and New Year's Eve too. So again, carrying on that Let's Go platform and making it easy for everyone and for people to think about PT as their first point of call for mode choice. So I'd love to hear from anyone that would like to get involved in any of this, and also just letting us know if there's specs or any opportunities for your own social, your web, your EDMs. We're happy to share creative and create things for you. Thanks, Felicia.
Thanks, Amy. There's quite a few questions that have come through. We'll just crack on with those pretty quickly. First of all, question around what are your patronage objectives percentage-wise for the summer months? And how do you measure your success in that regard?
Sure. So as I said, we were 13% during the lockdown. We are now sitting around 70 to 74. And for summer, for this burst of summer over the next 3 months, we're hoping to get 80 plus. So it's obviously very targeted towards that leisure traveller. And it's really, it's tracked and measured through Mikey touch-ons.
So we need to make sure we're all touching on with that Mikey card, so we keep your numbers up, eh?
That's right.
So what was the low point during COVID? Was it 27%?
13.
Or 13%?
13% of what we were pre-COVID. Yep. We've kind of been plateauing at 60 throughout the year, depending on seasons. So 74 now is great. And if we can get 80 over the next 3 months.
Yeah, that's fantastic. The next question here, as operators, can we know about the surprise elements at all? I guess just so maybe they can start to sort of promulgate some of those messages for you as well.
Absolutely. We're still just sorting out what that schedule is and locking it in. But as soon as I've got that, for sure, because if whoever would like to promote or help with that would be great. Yep. And we'll have lots of content and footage
to ahead of time, and we can push some of those messages out through our industry newsletters to keep people abreast of what's going on. What we might need to do, because I am conscious as well today, we've got a lot of people on here who are not members, so you're not getting the communications that would come out from VTIC normally. So we'll have to look at how we might be able to continue to communicate with this group as a closed group. But obviously, if you're a member, you'll automatically be getting all the information that we put out ahead of anyone else, because obviously we put out information like this to our membership base first, and then we follow that with a range of other comms to the broader industry. Which languages will you be including in this campaign? That's an interesting one.
Yeah, quite a few. We get this information. It's based from OMD, our media buying agency, and it's based on languages that are the highest PT users. So we've got Mandarin, Cantonese, Italian, Greek, Vietnamese, Arabic, and Punjabi for this campaign.
Wow.
Covering a vast area.
Very good. Here's an interesting one, Amy. Someone wants to know, can we have some tourism advocates engaged in the influencer areas to create visitor journey messaging? Oops, it's disappeared before I got to finish the sentence. So I think you got the gist of the question.
Sorry, so what was that?
This was around can we get some tourism advocates to help in pushing out some journey messaging for you, just to make it a bit more visitor friendly, and I'm assuming not so much necessarily about commuter traffic.
Oh, absolutely. And if there are certain advocates that people know of, please inform me, because we're at the moment just going through selecting who would be suitable. So for sure, because visitors is a big thing for us, obviously, with having to know
how would people get in touch with you if they want to share some information or follow up with you in any way? Are they able to go through to you, or do you have a general email address like City of Melbourne does?
We don't have a general one, so I would say come direct to me via email. So it's Amy, AMY.x.McBride, McBride, at DOT, so that's the Department of Transport, .vic.gov.au.
So amy.x.mcbride at dot.vic.gov.au. And that's up in the chat as well.
Perfect.
Guys on the line, in fact, Meg has graciously posted in the chat both the email address here now for Amy, but also the marketing address for City of Melbourne that Gabrielle spoke to earlier. Just another quick question. Will the Let's Go campaign be aligned in any way with the Only in the City campaign, or do they operate quite individually?
We have been talking to Gabrielle. So, where the synergies are together, especially when we've got activations happening, we will be sharing and seeing if we can promote each other's messages. We've already been to one of the City of Melbourne Christmas events to get heaps of great footage about all the amazing things going on in the city, which we're using on our socials. So there's lots of cross work happening.
Great. Amy, I think, guys, hopefully you're okay. I'm going to keep going. It's 11:05, but we still have quite a number of people on the call. So I'm going to keep going with some of these questions. There's a couple really important ones here, which I think the first one is around how will you engage with the big build disruptions? Because obviously that's something we're all really cognizant of at the moment. We're feeling the pain.
Yes.
Everyone's struggling with lack of public transportation at the moment.
Oh, I've lost you, Felicia. Hello?
I know. Hang on a second. Sorry, I'm going to...
Amy, the question is how will you engage with the big build disruptions, or is that a different group?
So that is MTIA, Major Transport Infrastructure Authority. However, we are working very closely with them. We meet with them nearly daily to talk about what's disrupted for summer, because disruptions change all the time. They are across our media buy. We look at postcodes, lines that are impacted, and we stay away from telling anyone to let's go anywhere near those spots. You can rest assured that we are both MTIA and us across that. And I actually come from that part of the world, so I understand how big the disruptions are and how they change at very last minute. So we're working around it. We have a message matrix. We'll run things when we know it's safe, and there might be a train shut. We'll just run tram, bus advertising, or vice versa.
Amy, sorry about that. I've swapped over to my iPhone, which hopefully will be a more stable connection. I'm just going to go through a couple more questions because we're running out of time here, but there is a question here about the regions. Mm-hmm. So with the regions doing much better than suburban Melbourne in terms of their tourism performance, without the power of the City of Melbourne, is there a move for renewed Destination Melbourne? I don't think this is a question you can answer, actually. Sorry about this.
That's all right.
I can probably answer this question, Carl, better than the Department of Transport, but we have raised this many times. This has been a point of discussion over many, many periods in relation to the need for a dedicated body. The answer is no, Carl. There is absolutely no appetite to create the equivalent of a regional tourism board for Melbourne at this point in time. So what we are trying to do is we're trying to make sure that we can bring through these types of forums, that we can bring the Greater Melbourne industry together. We need to be talking about what we can do beyond the spectrum of the City of Melbourne. And that is, obviously the city has a mandate to work directly with their constituents in the city, but we do need to be talking about how do we get better engagements with the Greater through Greater Melbourne. We obviously here at VTIC have Fiona Sweetman, who is our primary contact for Greater Melbourne. She does not work to the boundary of the city jurisdiction. So really working closely as Greater Melbourne operators, working closely with us through Fiona is probably the best way to get connected, stay connected, and leverage as many of these opportunities as we can. So we're working very hard, Carl, to try and deliver as best we can in that regard. But no, there is not an appetite to revisit the idea of a RTB equivalent for Greater Melbourne. I will do one last question here, which has come up from Richard. Is the campaign focused just around inbound movement to Central City, or will you also cover outbound travel to Greater Melbourne, e.g., say summer events in Werribee Park at Urban Surf or the like?
Yeah, absolutely open to that. We're working with V-Line too to find out what summer events are happening that are accessible across their network. So on our socials, we'll definitely be promoting what they are. Obviously, the challenges are that's looking at disruptions and things like that.
Yeah.
But for sure, it's got flexibility to do all of that.
Yeah, and I think that's important for a lot of people on our call here today, this idea of moving people around Greater Melbourne and, you know, the movement in and out and around the metropolitan Melbourne region is actually really important. So I think that's really great. I'm going to close on one quick question here, which I think is important. What are the best social channels for DOT or PTV if we produce content that aligns with the Let's Go campaign?
Mm-hmm. Facebook, definitely. Facebook and Twitter, I'd say, would probably be our most followed and largest channels. We do have Instagram. We're building that. But yeah, Facebook would be the best.
Great. Thanks, Amy. And everyone, you'll see in the question box here at the moment, I don't know if you're following, but there's a link there that we've posted to our VTIC hub. Really important that operators refer to that hub. While it started during COVID as a single source of truth for all things relating to COVID restrictions and everything else we were dealing with, it's actually evolved and it has become a real go-to source for the industry to understand what's on, what's happening, what everyone is doing. Fiona does a great job in really keeping that hub up to date with content that's useful to the operators in the industry, whether it's around things pertaining to floods, whether it's around mental health and well-being, whether it's around marketing campaigns, events and activities. We've also got all the information about the transport disruptions are now on the hub as well. We've posted it up there courtesy of our friends at DOT that let us know that the other day. So it is a real go-to resource. If you're not using it yet, then I would strongly suggest that you visit. It's hub.vtic.com.au. And you can actually have a look at traffic impacts right there, which was one of the questions that came up. So I'm conscious that we've run a bit over time, so I'm going to cease the questions here. But ladies and gentlemen, we do have, obviously we're going to be sending out the asset kit. The recorded version of the session today will go out this afternoon, along with the asset kits from both of our friends at the City of Melbourne and at the Department of Transport. We'll make sure that we update you with further content as further information comes to hand, because I think both have spoken about things that could happen or could evolve over the next coming few weeks and probably 4 to 6 weeks. So we will make sure that we'll keep you abreast of what's going on. But again, some of the key ways to make sure that you stay on top of everything is obviously through our membership. And as I said, I know we've got a lot of people on the line today that are not members of VTIC. So I would strongly urge you to have a look at our website. Consider joining, because it is the way to really stay on top of all of this stuff, to get firsthand information through the comms pieces that we put out regularly. But I do want to thank everyone for being on the call with us today. Again, I'm conscious that we've run a bit over time, but I think the questions were really good for us to go through. You'll see there up on this slide that we do have, again, the hub.vtec.com.au. Make sure you visit that hub. I think it does give you a really good resource to refer to around the latest and up-to-date information of what's happening in and around not just the city, but the whole state. We do try to keep that very much up to date. So ladies and gentlemen, this is probably well, in fact, I know it is the last webinar that we're going to be doing before the Christmas season. So I would like to thank you all for being on the call with us today, but also to wish you all a very Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Here at VTech, we do hope that you will have, a wonderful holiday season filled with lots of laughter with your friends and family. And we look forward to seeing you early in the new year. And we've all, I'm sure, got lots of plans about what we want to do over the next 12 months. But we want to thank you sincerely for all your support, for everything that you've done over the course of the past year to help VTech be able to deliver the things that we do for our industry. And we do look forward to collaborating with you further into the future. So thank you again. Have a lovely Christmas, and we'll see you all in 2023.